we need to go and have a commercial mindset about things. And finally, it's important to think system. So, what do I mean with that?
Welcome to another episode of Customer Success Talks, Real Challenges, Experts Advice, the podcast dedicated to helping those transitioning into customer success and early career customer success managers. I'm your host, Byron Toruño, Customer Success Manager, passionate about customer success nerd, and there's a lot of customer success there. Sorry for that. But just like you, I'm still learning about this amazing world. And today is not the exception. We're going to have an amazing conversation with a new guest, a new topic, new perception, different experience as well. And this episode is going to be focusing on how we can start 2025 with the right foot. How can we start with a strong mindset and skills, and what is our guest going to predict for this new year? So today we will be focusing on the mind and the skills of a customer success manager to drive in 2025. That's the topic. But that it means that we're going to talk about key opportunities. We're going to be talking about skill sets, mindsets, and we're going to learn what mistakes have our guests done that we can learn from as well and avoid them in the future. So, who am I talking about? It's Thomas Voigt. Thomas, thank you so much for being here in Customer Success and welcome.
Baron, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. I think that today's topic is going to be really, really interesting. We are going to basically start reading the future. So I'm super happy to do that with you today. And first of all, let's start with the basics. Can you tell everyone who are you, your background, your goals, your favorite food? No, I'm just kidding. But who are you?
Sure. Yeah, I think I'm going to minimize this to 60 seconds. Let's start.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm Thomas. I grew up in Germany. I lived in the south of Germany and the north of Germany, and I started basically with the love for psychology. Studied psychology and communications in Nuremberg, but also, got my master's there in business administration. And I think this is the time when everything kind of laid out or was laid out for my future career. So understanding human beings was always very exciting for me. I was about to study psychology, but I thought like I'd like to have a little bit of a business aspect in this as well. So this is why I studied this. I spent a couple of years, decades in Germany working at different market research companies, in particular big market research companies like Nielsen and the GfK, but also loved media. And I worked for a big TV company, which is now called Warner Brothers Discovery, and formerly it was Discovery. And I think, everyone still knows them, by their documentaries that they produce. So I found it always very exciting to work there. And my first stint was really working as a researcher, as a TV researcher. So I came in and tried to understand why people watch specific programs,
Oof.
what make them tick, basically. And that was an amazing opportunity for me. And 2011, I got the chance to move countries from Germany to London, where Discovery wanted somebody who builds up the digital research department, which was amazing. So at that point, there were some websites, some YouTube channels, of course, linear channels, and VOD, video on demand, was at the beginning. And I tried to get my head around, Jesus, how can we create not only a story, but something that moves the needle, that makes people in different departments understand why customers watch, and in particular how they move from, we call this linear TV, so the conventional way of watching television, to using digital outlets. And that was really exciting. And then further down, I just discovered that research and media is great, but I really would love to do more on the customer success front. And I entered again the space, and I started to work for GWI, which is a scale-up research company. And GWI tries to understand again everything about the customer and in the digital space in the internet. And I was heading up the customer success function there for media and platform clients. I was a VP of customer success and basically grew with the company as a scale up. We had nice money. That means we were able to really invest. These days are over, but we talk about this today.
I heard about those
But
dates.
it was yeah, but I love this so much because it connected my love and passion for research, understanding psychology, but also building businesses. And what is it that you basically need to bring to the table? And fast forward to today, I'm running the CS Academy, which is basically a service that focus on two audiences. The one is the CSMs, and the other one is CS leaders. And what I do is I do offer my knowledge, and I hope I bring this to the table in form of courses, but also coaching, but a lot of free resources as well, newsletters and thought-provoking articles, and to hopefully educate the CS industry a little bit of what's really important nowadays, where money is very, is short, or we don't really have the ability to spend money as we could back in 2019. But more than this, how can we change an entire industry? And yes, it starts normally with the leadership, but I think this episode in particular, I think, is all about also understanding what kind of mindset and skill sets do you need to bring to the table to play an important role, be happy, and also move the needle for yourself. And I'm very excited to talk about this.
It's super interesting to hear your background, Thomas, and not only your background, but also moving around. So that means that you have been able to work with colleagues and also understand customers with different backgrounds from different industries. So it's how not to create your own consultancy and DCS Academy to actually also bring everything in one same place. And talking about this, you have a discount that you're going to give out to everyone listening, right?
Absolutely. I'm excited about what you do because we both have something in common, which is being there, wanted to learn,
Yeah.
wanted to share what we learn. And this is the principle of my service as well. I'd like to offer affordable courses, but also I'd like to give 30% discount
Cool.
to everyone who wants to basically go deep and follow up with a one-on-one session consulting. And you can just apply it basically, and the discount code is CS Talks 30, so especially for your show. And this is available now until the end of February. And you can book this on my website after you have discovered with me 30 minutes free consultation and see, what you want to tackle, and if we both click and if we both could work together. So at the beginning, you don't have any risk, but if you really decide to work with me, then that's a nice piece of money that just goes off.
So people, it's not only about seeing your content, it's also about working with you. That's what I like about the way that you are giving this out and the way that you're working as well. Thank you very much. Everyone, remember, go to the description, check out CS Academy, go ahead, make some questions, reach out to Thomas. Thomas is here to help. And if this is for you, well, take the discount. Remember, February 28th, 2025, the discount will expire. But if there's any demand and if there's a lot of messages coming in, maybe I can negotiate and pursued our friend Thomas to extend that to 2028. I'm just kidding, Thomas. But yeah, if everyone is out there and you're really into this, go and check it out. And if there's enough demand, we can always expand. But Thomas, let's see. Today's episode, you have a lot of experience when it comes to the research in human behavior, understanding the customers, what is, how can we change the behaviors and what makes someone do something, right? And it's interesting that you're now bringing this into the customer success side of things, which also means that if we stop for a second and we stop focusing on our customers, which is that's what we do almost 95% of the times, and we focus on ourselves as customer success managers. What is your prediction for 2025 when it comes to the skills and mindsets that we should start having to have a good start for this year? Which are those top three, top four, or five that you see that we should start developing to be successful for this year?
Mm. Yeah, I think, as you said, independently of being a CSM or being a director or a leader, I think what's quite important for this year, where we are at now at the beginning, is that it starts basically with everyone. So as we all know, and this is not a new topic because a lot of people talk about this, but I'm saying this again, it's what we see at the moment is that customer success is trying to, let's almost crawl back to the table of, coming or joining a table where the sessions are going to be meet. CS has the background of being a cost center, and CS also and still has a problem with the definition of CS because there are so many tasks. So what can we do? We need, of course, leaders, but we do have leaders who come up with a fresh thinking, new skill sets, new mindsets. That's great, but we also need CSM to follow along, but also to make sure they adapt to this new thinking. And what's in for them, in for them is basically that fundamentally will increase the ability to thrive in your roles, in your organizations. You can become a leader in your new mindset. You can influence not only your peers, but you can potentially also influence the entire company. And these are big words, but I'd like to really delve into this a little bit more. So I think the most important thing for CS for this year is basically that we learn that CS predominantly was a department, raised a department
Hmm.
that's been said that's been seen as an investment. Yes, it's great to understand that we want to help customers and we need to prove recurring value and impact and everything, but it is an investment. So the first one is we need to go and have a commercial mindset about things. So that's quite important. And the commercial mindset normally goes with data. Um, Often you see, when you get asked about, what's going on with this client or this client, people have a feeling about it or they like to speculate about things. Okay, that's great. What we want ideally is a database decision. We want you to understand your data, but more than that, we want to understand the data language that other folks in your company speak. And I mean with that, the C-level, your chief financial officer, your CEO, and potentially also the board. Why is that important? It's because it's cascading down, right? So at the end of the day, we want to be successful economically, and we do need to do more with less. And with that, that means we have to speak all a financial language. We have to be clear on the metrics that we use, and we need to do this. And finally, it's important to think system. So what do I mean with that? System thinking is we need to tear down these walls. We need to tear down these silos. I know it sounds a bit weird, and we all have heard this before, but we could potentially start in the revenue function. So as you know, CSMs work in the post-sales, and we also have the acquisition, the sales folks. Thinking about a revenue function as a system, it's always great to share knowledge. I work with some clients, and the biggest problem for them was the silo thinking between sales and the customer success side. If we try to have a positive mindset to work with others, to educate each other, to have a transformational mindset, so really thinking about the bigger picture, then that's a great starting point. So I think these are the overlying functions or principles that do will apply more and more. And I think as hiring manager, these are the role specs that will become more and more dominant. So I don't think we can ignore this anymore. And I think we need to, well, be really open for change. And actually, this is a fun thing to do because there's a lot of things in for us as CSMs as well as for leaders. But I'm assuming we're going to talk about this in a minute. I'm going to stop you for a second because I feel like I just talk and talk and
No,
talk.
it's super interesting what you're saying. So if we imagine that we're going to the gym and there are three muscles that we have to actually get strong, get stronger, there will be the commercial focus, the data driven approach, and the system thinking. And if we break down into the commercial focus, the first challenge that comes to my mind as customer success manager is that we are not that comfortable, or I'm sorry, I will talk about for me. I'm not that comfortable into the negotiation side of things that comes with the commercial. So how can I go overcome that and get out of my comfort zone of only focusing on adapt feature adoption for the customer and relationship building.
Mm. I think that the job description of a CSM in the future is going to change, and we will give up this harsh farmers and and hunters picture that we have. Or as you said, I potentially don't really feel comfortable. I think we need to open up a little bit of to what we do and why we do things. And that brings me back to the beginning. CS is a function that helps us to make money,
Mhm,
full stop.
mhm,
We should not ignore this in the first instance. But to answer your question, it helped me. So when I was a leader at GWI, I tried to create the bigger picture because it is, at the end of the day, what we want to create as CSMs is a win-win situation with the client. We want to understand what does value look like? How does value proposition change for our client in particular, or for our client personas? And that's great and that's amazing. But we should not ignore that our clients are happy to pay for that.
mhm,
And when we think about this, then it becomes more like, not a deal where I serve you and I get the money. It can become something that is a little bit bigger, that is really related on a relationship. And I think the way of how we can approach this is by just opening up and not ignoring the financial part of things. This is what it is. But everybody is going to be a little bit more happier if it starts with us understanding what the client wants, with us that we be able to look into the future and making sure we know what our customers want or how they will pivot going forward. And I think our customers will then in return really are happy to pay for that. And the same with expansion, right? So if we do see any opportunities to upsell, that's for me another win
mhm.
that a client could get because it will help him or her to use our product and to potentially get a greater outcome or find more value in things. So I think we need to shift slightly, ever so slightly, in our perception of the old model that we just here to make people happy. And I think this one-way street actually has never been one. I think we created this in the past, and I think it's time to tear it down.
Let me go back to what you said, Thomas, because I think there are things super important to highlight here. Like when you said it starts with the role description, so that means that it's already something that the company it's seeing it as an investment and not as a cost center. It's actually seen as a department that is going to generate more, because at the end, s- customer success as a business unit is going to be measured also based on the revenue that we are getting into our organization. Same like sales. Sales, they have numbers to reach. Marketing, they have as well, numbers to reach, and same with other departments internally. So why not customer success, that we start thinking beyond only building the relationship? And you also said win-win situation, and this is super interesting because when we are about to sell, of course, let's say recommend or slash sell something to the customer, it's a win-win situation because that means that the customer in return they can also generate more revenue because they are upselling. There's more tools for them to use from our product that it will benefit them.
And I think, again, why the reason why we think that CS doesn't want to say go into a sales job is potentially because we still are tethered to a picture and an image of a salesperson that is going to die as well. So think about hard selling, think about cold calling. There is a lot of research out there, and we all know this. And let's actually finally face this. Nobody wants that. Nobody thinks that's great. And hard selling and all these kind of things will die. What will take over is basically relationship building. People will buy you stuff, whatever it is, they feel they can trust you. So wonderful. That's basically your starting point as a CSM to start. But also, as a salesperson in acquisition, you will see we are shifting basically the mindset, from CSMs who are supposed to create this relationship to the acquisition side of the business as well. And if you are able to do this there as well, then we all basically have a quite similar way of approaching our customers. And this is how it generally should be. And I believe there's a big change now happening because we see a lot of companies are with their backs towards the wall and they need to do something. Sometimes they still believe we need to do more and be more aggressive. But more and more, I see this in what I read, what I hear, what I take from conversations. This shift to a mindset, to another mindset, to building up trust is really on its way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, you mentioned about data driven, Thomas. So we move from the commercial focus to another pillar to be commercial as well, which is the data, right? And of course, we can go deeper into curiosity and we can go deeper into what questions to ask and kind of be part of that your customer's organization and understand them well. But one of the challenges is data. First, it could be a lot, hard to understand. Second, like also how to present it, right? But there are skills that we have not been taught how to develop. And one of this is how to read data. So, what advice can you give to someone who's going through this challenge of how can I understand data and how can I present it?
Yeah. Um, this is a great example of why I felt motivated to come up with the CS Academy, but also to write a lot of stuff for free because I feel like there's ground knowledge that everyone should know. So, and if you go and either on LinkedIn and or Google it, there are some metrics in CS that you should be aware of, and this is all freely available. So I would encourage everyone to first of all follow your podcast,
Please.
but also yes, but because I think people who are on your podcast or other podcasts, they love to talk about this and mention this, and there are a lot of metrics. Well, there are some few that in particular are quite important, but to really start with a big muscle, it's all about understanding what is your financial goal that the company is going to walk to work towards. So what's the revenue goal, for example? And understanding how you as a CSM can help to achieve that is the very first question.
Hmm.
If you get stuck, go and speak to your manager. So that's the first step to get the snowball effect rolling. But also, we all know there's an NRR and GRR, and there are numbers to understand the customer service side, like the NPS or CSAT and so on. And there are some few more. So it's basically, I would say, a total like 5 metrics that you need to understand. And I think they're reasonable, easy to understand. Let's put it that way. And I think the most important thing is for you to understand what they mean, um, and how you can help the company and yourself to thrive and to work towards this. And that's basically to understand also your storytelling. So when we talk about data mindset, then it's great to know your data, but also understanding how data have been
Hmm.
produced. So a lot of us using CRMs like Salesforce or HubSpot or any other things, or sometimes Excel, tables. Make sure you understand where data are coming from and ask questions if you don't understand that. A lot of folks do this. And if you're really brave, talk to your CFO or talk to your manager and ask them, what does that mean? But you really should adapt a certain way of looking into data. That was back when I worked in the research department. My job was basically to get data to a story to then support the value that folks get out of what I do. And that exercise is an exercise that you can train. And it doesn't happen from day one, but it definitely happens. And actually, it's fun because you will discover new things. You will discover, as I said, how much you can really contribute to this. And that's fantastic. I mean, everybody in sales, for example, loves their quota and they know they've reached that and they're happy about this, and this is great. And that's a great thinking basically that we need to do. And yeah, finally, I think it's important that you use the data appropriately to tell your story going forward, because what will happen is, and what I've seen in practice as well, is your leaders and their leaders, they will potentially have questions about numbers, metrics, data. You better learn their language. You need to know what is, your churn in percentage. You need to be able to potentially forecast data based on what you've done. And also, AI is going to help you in this process, hopefully with a solution that's been rolled out across the go-to-market functions. But if not, just use it yourself, to see, what you can do with data that you've got, or ask your RevOps team there, I'm assuming are doing this anyway, or the finance team.
Yeah, and that's something, Thomas, that I'm also going myself, right, as a challenge. That is how to read the data, but also how to present it to avoid data paralysis from the other side, and then also how to use that data. And this is something I talk with Stephen Cronin in one of the episodes, how to use the data as well to show the impact that you're given as an individual, and then going from top to bottom as a team to your manager to up. So data, it is a backbone for a lot of impact that we want to show, and also to give our customers the tools they need to show at the end of the year why they should stay with us and sell us internally. But it is a big challenge, absolutely. So I agree, there's a lot of resources out there that everyone can go ahead and do a research. But then you also touch on system thinking. So if we go to that third pillar about system thinking, let me know if I'm right or wrong, but what I understood is that it means that you communicate with other departments towards the same north. And it's interesting because if customer success, we communicate with a lot of departments, so it's also important to understand how they think, how their processes are, so that way we can deliver the message as good as possible. And by this, it gives me a really good I have a really good example. What happened today is that I wasn't sure about the internal process of feature requests. If I want to invest time on doing the feature request, I want it to be right. So I reach out to the product manager, and now we have a call where he's going to walk me through the process. So that helps me to understand what is their process, and same with sales. So can we go deeper into that system thinking? It's more than just communication and understanding what other departments are doing.
I think it is, to be honest, a quite selfish behavior, because, and I explain why I think it is. I think it's important to, first of all, of course, to gather all the information that we have. But often, as you know, we're going to stick in our silos. We're basically communicating potentially with our peers in CSM, with our managers, and that's kind of our gated garden, of communication. Often we like to complain that marketing is doing something that's not been, that wasn't in conversation with us. Then you've got conversations with product potentially, or you see there's a new product release and you haven't been informed about this. And you realize you get in this almost moaning and this kind of passive situation that drags you furthermore into your silo. So what I'd like is to ideally for us to start with us and think like, what can I change? And you are able to do this because you are the first person to your clients. You are the enabler of knowing what is value and how the value is going to change going forward. So you sit on a lot of information. You have power. It's incredible
Mm.
if you think about this knowledge. So now, if you take this and speak to your marketing folks, get some protocols in, make sure processes are in place, talk to your leaders and say, like, can we just have a process with marketing? This is what I feedback to you. Are you going to feedback this back to others as well? Invite customers, make them heard, and you will discover that your meaning and your job as a CSM will become much wider, has a complete different meaning to you, a different purpose. You're not only sitting there and just helping, your customers to become a happy customer, you basically taking folks on board internally, and that's in for you. You becoming a thought leader, you becoming the source of inspiration for a lot more people. What I discovered is when CSMs at the client side decided to bring in clients and they came to an all hands, to everyone and spoke to them, people were excited. People understood what they do. People were amazed by this. And this is, I think, what I mean with if you just think system, if you not only align to the North or to the North Star, but really take an active role, you will get much more out of it for yourself.
Because we are powerful. I love that word.
Yes.
I love that word because we are indeed powerful. We are receiving all of this information from the customer and the frustrations as well and the wins as well. So it's just too much for one person, one team, right? And that power is the power that other departments might not have. And that's the value that we have to present internally into if I'm asking this, it's because I have seen this and this trend. And I think that it's also important to be intentional.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, intentional and bringing things up. And as you know, I'm a very big fan of being radical candor. So just saying what things are, respecting others, but also just being very sure and very clear about your role and what you have and your intention that you can actually, that you can create and to others and how you can influence the wider business as such. So it is great, but often you think you were talking about things like maybe negative things that you hear with clients. You can share this as well. If you talk with others, it just leaves you as a person and it just becomes a company theme or a theme where other people can help you or give you a different new perspective,
Mhm.
and that's sometimes good as well. So just don't stick it out or hold it out or sit it out. Make sure you use your power.
Indeed, indeed. Thomas, something that is growing, I don't know, maybe the last 2 or 1 year, it's AI and how AI has helped us automate a lot of internal processes and how we have been able to automate also the way we communicate with our customers. And I'm a believer that this change is also what is making hard to actually start in a industry like customer success to have an opportunity, a space where now a lot of tasks are automated, so we are free to also do other stuff instead of hiring someone. That's a different topic. But when it comes to automation and AI, I think that's also a mindset or a skill or something for this year as well, right? To have that in as your partner in crime.
Mm. Yeah, partner in crime, co-pilot, whoever you think, you can, however you can name it. I think last year, I think was the year where AI tools came to the market and they were still a little bit in beta, and there were a lot and people were exploring them and seeing how they can being implemented going forward. This year, I believe it's what will happen is that some policies will evolve. So it's important that you establish AI tools where you've got a legal policy, a tech policy in place, and where it's basically a piece of advice, of help that he can implement and that he can work with. So, and with that also what happens or will happen more and more is that you will get solutions that not only serve you in your CSM service, but also in revenue or generally in go-to-market. So holistic thinking is quite important. Nevertheless, you as a CSM, you can just use AI for yourself in a certain way. And I know there's ChatGPT and other kind of bots and so on, but just find out how you can use it and how you can be ignited with things that you want to do. I mean, what I've seen at the client side was that often you are not really able to prepare QBRs in appropriate way. You just have the vision that you need to download your latest developments and so on. What we forget is to focus on what's really important for our clients. And sometimes we come in with a very narrow way of using, or seeing the client. AI can help us big time, and just understanding, what's really happening, resonating, what clients use, what the actual pain points are. That can be amazing if you combine and connect this with your protocols, with your note taker notes, for
Mhm.
example, and then, for example, find out what did I miss. I tell you, there are so many things that come up as a surprise. That sets you often then in your actual QBR, on top of things, and where you can just come in and say, like, I know this and this and this, and we've got something where I believe we can help. And the client will instantly see that you've done your homework. So AI is, as such, an evolving technology, and tools will change, tools will die, but I think nevertheless, there will be a co-pilot going forward. They will make your life easier. And I think for most of us, what will happen is basically the shift that we discussed earlier in mindset that will be enabled, and that will be enforced to get developed going forward. So it's actually a good thing. And who wants to do all this kind of nitty gritty things that, putting numbers somewhere or just doing forecasts with their own whatever, methods. AI can help you in so many ways going forward. So I would really strongly encourage everyone to embrace that. But of course, do it safe, play it safe, and always make sure your legal and your IT department or your tech department is on board.
Important to highlight, by the way. It's just the AI. It's a big topic that we cannot cover in just a couple of minutes. But there are different ways of AI as well. Like, for example, those tools that you use on your daily basis only for you to organize your task, only for you, like, to note takers. Now that you just listen and then you just come back and the your follow-up email is basically almost done. But then there are, if we go beyond, and maybe something that this is a leadership tasks when it comes to CRMs, and how CRMs can grab data and present it to you in an easy way for you to understand, right? So we can go beyond this topic, but I wanted to ask you, Thomas, which are your favorite CS tools? Which are your favorite CS AI tools that you would recommend? And throw the names. It's okay. It's totally okay. But if anyone wants to sponsor, we're open.
Um, you know, I'm an independent consultant in this case. And the thing is, we're at the beginning of 2025, and I know AI is moving forward. I'm not naming a company, but I tell you what I'm excited about. I'm excited about technology that enables you to make your forecast more accurately. So if you think back at the beginning when we were talking about why we are working in customer success, this is because the company believes in us as a revenue driver. That's number one. The second most important thing is that you forecast accurately your numbers, and AI can help there big time.
Mm.
And that's something you know you want to think about, in particular, if we talk about the leadership team and go to market, that you've got tools in place that not only take the conversation that you have with one client, but that looks at all the touch points in real life, virtually, and then try to use other data points, potentially your other data information that you have firsthand, third-party data plus AI, and then create an accurate, way of forecasting your numbers. And that's where things getting really exciting. So you basically create your own GBT based on, what you've got, your own historical data, but also, what you see in terms of forecasting behavior of your clients. And that's fantastic. There are some companies, bigger companies, but also smaller companies who are going into that. And I encourage everyone to just have a look, and just see and test it out. But I think it will be months, to be honest, until these kind of services will be placed at companies and successful deliver an impact in terms of delivering really, a better forecast. And that's super crucial, in particular if you are growing, and in particular if you want to pitch for more money. And to be honest, who doesn't want to kind of back up their story with a better forecast, right? So we all want that. So welcome AI.
Wow. Welcome AI, welcome reading the future. This is something that when you say forecast, I was like, "Pff, of course, with AI, with these tools, we can have historical data and forecast, and it's something that is not new. It people and industries, companies, everyone has been doing already forecasting, but now the way that it's been done and how accurate it is, right? Like being able to read the future. If you were able to select to choose a superpower as a customer success, being able to read the future and know by forecasting who's going to churn and try to avoid that, wow. And that's health scores helps, but being able to be one step ahead and be futuristic, nice. But Thomas,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, and then again, I think now you see that's a great example again of why it's so important that you do have the system thinking, right? Because you said, the CSAT or the NPS numbers, these NPS is or CSAT is claim data. Somebody says this to you and you take this for guarantee. But what you will do in the future is you will use different behavioral data, because of churn, because of others, plus claim data, and it's going to be a conglomerate of data information plus the AI that will help you massively going forward. But you need to be a peer player. You need to go out. You need to be active in this. But you see, now we both are getting
Yeah.
excited, right? And this is how it should be as a CSM. So this is why we all do this, and this is why a CS working in CS is going to be super exciting.
Oof, but there's a lot to do. There's always a lot to do, and it is exciting. And it's time to start, Thomas, closing up today's episode. Unfortunately, we have touched a lot of you have highlighted a lot of important aspects to keep in mind for this new year, which is the commercial focus, data driven approach, system thinking, and how to be adaptable, right? How to be open to experiment, basically. And the last question that I have for you to close today's episode, Thomas, it's super important because we don't want to make the mistakes that maybe you have done, right? And that's why we want to know which ones are they, so we can learn from you. So can you tell us a time when you fucked up and what did you learn from it?
Sure. Well, everyone fucks up. I did it as well. And I think the first thing is, well, say that you fucked up.
Hmm.
Um, just own it, right? So I think that's the most important thing. And everyone does it, as I said. Fucking up means basically you've done something and it didn't turn out in the way that you or this wanted. Okay, great. But try to kind of flip this for you and for others, and try to see this maybe as a learning experience going forward. And while you do this, I think it's quite important to just do incremental steps. Start small, just make things changes here and there, and um, develop a mindset of consistent learning, basically. And embracing the adoption. And I think this is what we all need to do. And if you think about it, we live in times, sometimes they can be so overwhelming. And if we just focus on little baby steps on things that we want to change with us, with our clients, how we want to make a better, working environment, a work-life balance at work, we can do this by doing little tiny things. And we will continue to fuck up things. But if we just change this mindset, I think then we will have hopefully a much better way of working together going forward. And it's going to be much more fun too.
There's no best way to close today's episode with your words, Thomas. I really appreciate your time. I want to remind everyone out there, remember to go to the description because there's a discount and it will expire on February 28th of this year, 2025. But go take a look, see what Thomas is promoting for you as well, and see if it's actually something that can benefit. And if it does, let know the world about it. Thomas, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me and have a great week.
Everyone out there, remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.